Now, as ethanol blending debate rages on, a PIL has been filed in Supreme Court seeking direction to make regular petrol available alongside E20. Meanwhile, talking exclusively to ET Now, FADA President C.S. Vigneshwar says no major reporting issues of E20 fuel so far. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is set to chair a meeting with public sector banks and other financial institutions on Monday. Sources say FM is likely to take stock of the measures announced to mitigate the impact of the West Asia crisis. Issues related to Mythos AI and banks' preparedness are also likely to be on the agenda. As airstrikes continue across West Asia, tensions between Iran and United States remain high. Despite the escalating situation, Washington says technical talks with Tehran will continue. However, IRGC has vowed retaliation over the killing of Ali Khamenei following the burial of Iran's former supreme leader. U.S. benchmark indices trade mixed amid SK Hynix debut on Wall Street. Dow and S&P currently trading with minor gains, while Nasdaq sees some selling pressure for the week. All three indices heading for fourth straight week of gains. Benchmark indices end the week in red, snapping a 4-week winning streak as auto and pharma stocks dragged markets lower. Meanwhile, realty and IT emerge as the top performer for the week. Broader markets also end the week with decent gains. Flows into equity mutual funds jumped by 26% to a little under 29,000 crore in June compared to the month before. Meanwhile, SIP contributions hit 3-month high, crossing 31,780 crore during the month. WhatsApp has responded to Centre's notice regarding the rollout of its usernames. The government is currently examining the company's response before deciding on the subsequent course of action. PM Modi lands in New Zealand, marking the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 40 years, received by New Zealand's PM Christopher Luxon in Auckland. The high-stakes visit is set to focus on trade and defence, marking a new chapter in the India-New Zealand ties. Hello and welcome to India Tonight. I'm Shibani Gharat. Now, despite assurances from the Petroleum Minister on E20 fuel, the controversy over ethanol continues to explode. A PIL has now been filed in Supreme Court, questioning the lack of options to consumers to choose between pure petrol, E10 and E20. My colleague Kuldeep gets us the details.
Well, a public interest litigation has been filed in the Supreme Court over ethanol blending in petrol. The petitioner has sought directions to the Union of India. The petitioner pleaded the apex court to direct the Union of India that it must ensure uninterrupted availability of unblended petrol as well as 10% ethanol blended petrol at all fuel stations across the country. The petitioner also demanded that the government must ensure that all the fuel stations across the country display the content of ethanol in petrol. It should be visible to the consumers that how much percentage of ethanol is there in the petrol that they have been filling in their vehicles. Additionally, the petitioner also sought directions to the Union of India that it should ensure that all the vehicles manufactured particularly before 2023 must be covered under the appropriate insurance scheme before going ahead with this ethanol policy. Apart from this, the petitioner also pleaded the apex court to direct Union of India that it should contribute around rupees 50 to 55 rupees per litre towards the cost of ethanol blending in petrol. Well, we must tell the viewers here that this is not the first petition filed in the Supreme Court which sort of challenging or seeking measures to protect consumers, consumer vehicle from this ethanol-blended petrol. In fact, last year also there was a public interest litigation that challenged the ethanol policy of the government of India, and it was filed before the Supreme Court. However, the bench of then Chief Justice of India, V.R. Gavai, had dismissed that petition. Now, this petition, it has been filed in the Supreme Court. However, it has not been yet listed. Well, we'll see that whether the court takes cognizance of this matter once it is listed and it comes up for the hearing before the Supreme Court.
Right, Kuldeep. Now, we are now joined in by Narendra Mishra. He's an advocate in Supreme Court, and he has in fact filed a PIL regarding the entire E20 and clarity around it. Thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now, Mr. Mishra. And tell us more about, the purpose of this PIL.
Here is the four very important facts and points of this Indian citizens. Point number one. The several automobiles manufacturer initially expressed concern regarding the use of the E20 fuel in vehicles that were not specifically designed for such fuel. Likewise, there the E20 manufacturing, including Toyota, Hyundai, Renault, and others company, already is avoid there. But other thing is there, indicating that the concerned vehicle models were not compatible with the E20 fuel, and continued the use of the E20 could affect the warranty coverage and other recommended for those vehicles. But government is not considering it. There is the entire people's rights is already violated by the central government of India. The government is already imposing these types of the policies without giving any opportunities to the another types of the companies. Point number two, although some other manufacturers supplementary issued the review advice after the government policies changes. Large number of vehicle manufacturings before 2000 were not originally engineered and certified continue use of the utility fuels. Become of the earlier government targeted compatibility policies 2030. There is no design at 2 days. After 2026, all manufacturers company designed all vehicles which is the suitable for E20, but before of the 2023 there is no capabilities of this found out in these types of the engines.
Yeah, there has been, Mr. Mishra, there is a lot of hue and cry also on social media about the rollout of the E20 across nationwide rollout of the E20, but all the automakers are coming in support of the government. All the auto dealers are coming in support of the government. Do you think, these automakers and auto dealers are underplaying this issue that could eventually be passed on to the consumers?
There is four very important point of the India. If Indian people are assuming that it is supporting, some relevant people are the supporting, not entire citizens. 150 crore citizens are living there. Some are having the two-wheelers, some are having the four-wheelers vehicles. Point number one. Point number two. There is the government of the India, the ethanol is hygienic in the nature, but government of India is not any explanation about the engine explanation, engine effect, the minimum mileage, warranty validity, future saving. Entire thing is not mentioned, not disclosed. If government is done these all things can be disclosed of the peoples before the peoples in social media and international media. But the government is not disclosed this time. In this regard, I am saying there, if technical report is find good, before of the 2023's entire vehicles are the competent for there, they can be published there. If this is not having this technical reports, they can be before the public already admitted here. But there is a
Mr. Mishra, stay with us. Quickly, we go over to my colleague Prakash Priyadarshi, who's at the GEMA conclave, which is happening in New Delhi, that aims to, in fact, speak about India's ethanol ecosystem. And he, in fact, spoke to President of Grain Ethanol Manufacturers Association, who is, in fact, dismissing concerns circulating on social media, saying the claims have no technical basis, that it is going to harm a particular vehicle or have an impact on the consumer. Let's just quickly listen in to what he had to say.
You see, there's the myth going on in the social media has no background, no technical background. It's just a myth. I always ask anchor to close your ears, experience yourself and tell me if your engine has gone down, if any problem in engine, maybe the car of 23 or maybe before. If there is a problem, then believe it. Otherwise, forget it. This is my answer to it.
So you must be in touch with the government and other stakeholders. What would be your suggestion? What would be your recommendations to the government at this point in time?
Yeah, increase the blending without fear. Increase the blending without fear.
But the government seems to be delaying its E25 or E30 program amid this user program.
No, it's not delaying. They are experimenting. They are researching. They are running the cars on the E25. Then they will introduce. It's not that overnight they can do it. They are trying to do that. So they are doing the 40,000 kilometer car they are running. After that they will introduce.
Right. So that is what the GEMA spokesperson had to say about the entire E20 controversy. That is, the debate over E20 that has taken over the country right now. But we also have Narendra Mishra, of course. He's an advocate in Supreme Court who has filed a petition. In fact, yes, Mr. Mishra, you had something to say.
Here is the one other angles of these particular petitions. The important thing is that the Eco car insurance provider company already alerted and covered in the engine damage caused by the E20 fuels. If any types of the engines are already damaged, this company is saying here the car insurance policies will not pay the engine damage. Who will take the responsibility? Government will take responsibility, either in my petroleum ministry or the natural gas resources ministers. Who will take the responsibility? People are the suffering. People are the harassed. People are already defaming. That maybe this concerned person is saying this is not perfect. It is saying that under trial is going. If it is having, there are 7 or 8
saying that there has to be like a choice given to the consumer at the petrol pumps, and there should be different sort of labeling for E0, E10, E20, so that the consumer gets to choose what he or she has to put in the car, and that has to be made compulsory.
There is done after that the entire social media's war. There is a not before of this. Second is there, this petition already filed and making before of the some days or the few weeks. Thereafter, the government and others, manufacturing companies, auto cars manufacturing companies is saying that the most insurance policy covered only the accidental and expected damage. But if the damage happened due to the use of the wrong types of the fuel, I will not cover. Who will take? And company is already saying, I will not give the warranties of the fuel tanks. I will not give the warranty of the entire another body part damaging another body part of the vehicles. Who will take responsibility?
Right. Who will take the responsibility? And you're saying that it is also like a big insurance question. But having said that, how will government, with their limited tank capacity, manage these different kinds of blends at a single petrol pump?
There is one very important I am concerning to you. Before of the 1 year, my transport ministers of India has already ensured in public dealing or public meetings, if I will introduce something ethanol mixed oils, crude oils, the petrol rates will be already reduced. Maybe this will be gain out the people's for the 50 or available for the people's nearby the 50 or 55 rupees. But there is nothing. All people are seeing there. You also having the cars, you already daily going to the petrol pumps, already insured there. No rate prices are decreasing. No other things, no competence already dealing before the addressing the media. and addressing the people, but there is nothing. Outcome is nothing.
Right.
Cover engine is already damaging. Insurance is not covering. Who will take the responsibility?
Right. We are now also joined in by Dhruv Joshi. He's a research analyst at Miria Asset. Thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now. We are joined in by Mr. Mishra, who's filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court, asking the government, all the key questions, in fact, regarding the E20 rollout in the country, including some of the issues which are concerning the consumers, everyday car owners and consumers, on segregation of E0, E10 and E20 fuel available at the petrol pump. But tell us, this is becoming like a big debate over the past couple of days, in fact. Help us understand, how will it play on the markets and what is the kind of impact it will have on some of the auto stocks? Auto companies, by the way, seem to be backing the government's move.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been backing the government at the moment. The E20 rollout for these vehicles, the compliant vehicles for E20 vehicles, have started somewhere around 2023. So whatever vehicles they do see is actually saying that these vehicles are pretty much compliant with the fuel, and it's also not that deteriorating. What needs to be understood is that when the older vehicles come into service, that data needs to be gathered, and if at all there is any harm to these vehicles that is being caused, it needs to be studied whether this is actually a cause for concern. But at the moment, from all the automakers, the commentary is on the same page, that there is absolutely no harm at the moment, and if there is, they are still looking into it.
Let's go back to Mr. Mishra. Does, the public interest litigation that you filed, does it have like a clear data or, some analysis, so to speak, on the current non-E20 compliant vehicles running on Indian roads? Mr. Mishra.
Already I have the 2 or 3 vehicles. One is already car, another is something. These are already staying here, the delinquency line. Second point is very important to every citizen of the India. We saw during of the COVID eras that there was no trial of at that times. If government is having any consideration of the trials, can be published there. If having the something trials, there is a 4 or 5 automobiles companies running in India. Can you share there? What is the issue? And saw that the mishappening which is already caused with death of so many people. Can we see there?
Right. Dhruv Joshi, your reaction to this, and help us understand also, many insurance companies are also raising concerns around the engine damage due to the E20 fuel. So what is the kind of impact it will have on the larger, this entire auto insurance, entire ecosystem over here?
So what the concern at the moment looks like is, the nature of ethanol and being, hydrophobic. So right now, when the entire concern revolves around the rubber rings, the O-rings around the engine casings and everything, this usually comes around as the normal wear and tear for any vehicle. And this is where, the insurance companies kind of have said that it falls under the bracket of normal wear and tear. So to claim that ethanol is causing the suggested issues is a little far-fetched without data. So that is one point where, insurance companies are playing with this. To be playing fair to consumers, a lot of data on older vehicles needs to be studied, wherein the older vehicles, the generations that were before E20, the E10s and the pure petrol ones, they need to be studied thoroughly to come to a conclusion rather than being force-fed.
Right. And also, Dhruv Joshi, help us understand, how will it impact, we spoke about auto, but how will it impact the auto components sector in the days to come?
So if we look at the component sector works in a different way compared to the OEMs. At the moment, what we would actually want from the consumer end, probably the requirement there would be conversion kits and the kind of mandate that holds up to the normal wear and tear. So auto component makers with these O-rings and the ancillary makers that make these kind of components should be at the moment in terms of the center of attraction here, where they can actually provide better services and better quality of products, wherein they would be less corrosive and kind of provide the engine's sustenance compared to how, and maybe allay fears again from the consumers, wherein the wear and tear is being caused at a higher level compared to normal petrol.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi and Mr. Mishra, for joining us today on ET Now and sharing your inputs on, this entire E20 and ethanol debate.
My last question and my last commission is very
Thank you.
important. If the government has done any such trials can be published before the media. Just I'm asking one thing. Please, true of you.
Right.
Please.
Thank you. Well, it is time for us to slip into a very short break. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching India Tonight. I'm Shubhani Gharat. Now, India's $315 billion IT industry is unlikely to see a sharp recovery anytime soon. Speaking exclusively to NASSCOM President Rajesh Nambiar said the sector is likely to witness muted growth over the next 2 years before eventually returning to double-digit expansion at quote-unquote some point of time. Here is a slice of that conversation.
This industry has been growing, right? As I said before in an earlier conversation, for the year ending 31st March 2026, the industry grew at 6.1%. And we are at $315 billion as a size of the industry, which is significant. At that size, can we eventually get to a double-digit growth? At some point in time, yes, we will. But I believe that we're going to find a little bit of a muted growth over the next 1 or 2 years, and that's not going to go away anytime soon. So we're going to find that at this point in time.
Right. And even as we speak about growth itself, on the hiring front, you're seeing AI hiring actually take place by leaps and bounds, even while overall IT hiring has slowed down. So in the medium term itself, what percentage of emerging tech jobs or jobs that will be filled could actually be AI related? Is that number quite significant, at least at this time and place?
No, it's going to be significant. Right? I mean, when you see the amount of AI work which is being done by many of our technology companies have increased significantly. But remember, the AI jobs are not only going to be in the technology sector; it's also going to be in other sectors, whether it is banking or healthcare and so on. So you will find, and I gave you a number of saying that the industry grew by 6.1% in the last year. The employment grew by 2.3% at the same time, which means that there is a bit of a gap between the revenue growth and the employee growth. And that is going to be the reality as we move forward. Right? There will be employment growth. The industry will continue to grow, but at a much smaller clip in terms of the employee growth compared to the revenue growth in some sense. So you're going to find that difference.
Right. And every time we talk about IT itself, especially in the context of AI, there's that boogie of automation that always stares us in the face. And that's really been the bugbear that's been taking Indian IT by storm in the recent past. Going back present day trends, how much of Indian IT workflows, at least at this time and place, do you think could for sure be automated over the next 4 years? Are we looking at percentages of 30%, 40%? What is that percentage of automation, thanks to IT, likely to be like by the time this decade is done?
The way to look at it is a little different from the automations. Automation has been around for several years. For the last 2 decades, people always talked about automation. Today, what we're talking about is more autonomous agents actually doing things in a very different way. So these are a little different compared to the automation discussion that we used to have in the past. When you look at today, it is all about orchestrating those multi-agentic workflow in many ways. So in organizations, you will find that people are redefining the way the work is getting done. Right. So you will find that it's not just that, person A is doing something, so somebody comes and automates that so that you don't have the job the next day. The jobs are getting dissected into tasks. What you really automate automate or agentify, if you may, with a AI agent is actually a task which is getting automated in some sense. So if you are a person with, let's say, 7 tasks that in your job, then out of the 7, maybe 4 of them will get automated, the 3 of them will remain. And if you are doing something else very differently, then maybe none of them will get automated by AI agent. Sometimes all of them will get automated. So those are the nuances that we need to understand. So, and hence there is no direct replacement. We are saying that agentic workforce is going to replace someone else. And as I mentioned earlier, I think these are people with AI capability will eventually replace people without AI.
Right. And in fact, my next question is also going to be pretty much along the same lines as well. You speak about how jobs won't go away, but candidates essentially will replace other candidates with a different skill set. So let's take a look at it perhaps from this perspective, and you can correct me if the thinking ought to be done a little differently. For every 100 traditional IT jobs, let's say, that could go away thanks to AI itself, how many newer AI opportunities do you actually foresee being created over the next 4 years?
I believe the specific numbers are going to be tough for us to say, because not knowing what we don't know when you look at next couple of years. But when you go back and look at today's industry, every single technology services company which has announced their results have actually added people than taken away people. I mean, you'll hear of people, rejigging their workforce transformation, workforce rationalization. But you still find that there is a net hiring number which goes on. People are going to campuses even today and hiring people from campuses. So I think it's the workforce mix which is changing as you speak.
In your expertise and experience, how many AI jobs do you think India can create by the time the decade is done, versus how many tech jobs could possibly be lost out thanks to AI?
I can tell you one thing and nothing more. I will tell you that the AI jobs which is getting created will be more than the jobs which is getting lost, for sure.
Well, that was NASSCOM President Rajesh Nambiar speaking about AI and jobs with my colleague Jude. On that note, it is time for us to in fact end this edition of India Tonight. Goodbye from me, Shabani Gharat. You don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in exactly 30 minutes on Business at 9.